welcome to Conversations with T, where we have organic and down to earth conversations exploring the field of perinatal and maternal health and the intersectionality of spirituality and psychology. I am your host and your sister friend, Shatia Tee Owsley. In each episode, we will take a deep dive into the outstanding and sacred work of BIPOC birth workers, spiritualists, and other holistic health professionals making tremendous impacts in the world of birth. So grab your headphones, a warm drink, sit back, and let's vibe. So today, our special guest is Hope Williams. Hope Desiree Williams is a proud mom, a college graduate, a skilled loctician, a light worker, entrepreneur, and most importantly, a birth keeper. She has always felt a deep connection with people and their children and is truly fascinated by biology and the incredible human body. While she initially considered becoming a pediatrician, Hope realized the importance of a holistic approach to wellness that isn't influenced by capitalism, racism, or a robotic system. So I'm so excited that you're here, Hope. I'm so happy to have you. How are you today?
I'm great. Every time I do something in spaces like this where I hear my bio read, it literally just lights me up because it's just a reminder of who I am. Because sometimes I forget.
Yes.
Motherhood will drown you out, and everything will kind of, dull down, make you forget who you are. So
Absolutely.
I love hearing that to
Yeah.
my, it's like affirmation to myself.
Absolutely. And I loved reading it because we do need those reminders for sure. Um, I know I read your bio, but can you share your journey, how you became interested in holistic maternal health and what led you through this path? Oh, it's your baby.
Yep, he wanted to make an appearance.
He's so
Um,
juicy.
thank you. So yes, my pathway to holistic health, to doulahood, to birth keeping basically came about as I was trying to figure out who I was and figure out what my passions were and what I was passionate about and all of those things. So I initially didn't even know what a doula was. I found
Mhm.
out what a doula was via some research on my own and actually via an Instagram post. Social media in the age of millennials is like huge, but I actually found out what it was via social media and researching on my own, and
Mhm.
it really just aligned with everything that I found that I was passionate about. So, as my bio said, originally I was looking into pediatrician because I feel like being, a woman in science, it kind of was just like, okay, well, you'll be either a nurse or a doctor. Like nobody
Mhm.
told me about anything else. I didn't know there was anything else. And
Yeah.
so I found doula work and birth work, it just made me light up. Like even before I really even knew what it was, because I was like, this sounds like everything that I want to do, like combined into one thing. Like this is actually sounds like a dream. So I jumped right in and I did my doula training through a local doula who sponsors her own trainings. And I jumped right in because my first birth after my doula class was, I want to say, a few weeks after my doula class, and it was a free birthing experience. So it was just me and the mom and her family. So I jumped head in, like straight in into it, and it's been a beautiful journey since then of finding myself, finding um finding out my passions and just sharing my work with people who need it the most, really.
Yeah. Oh, to touch on that experience, can you explain to people who may be watching, who may not be familiar, what is free birthing, and what role did you play? Because being a doula is different than being a midwife, and I know sometimes people try to use the terms interchangeably or they get them confused. Can you touch a little bit more on that?
Right. So, a free birth is a birth where you don't have a medically licensed or trained professional present,
Mm,
meaning it's just just lay what they would consider lay people or lay midwives or people who don't have any like formal training or licensure to deliver babies.
mm-hmm,
And so my free birthing experience was with a mom who is now actually a doula. So she was, I say that to say she was extremely prepared. And it was
mm,
really just a divine connection because she's now a doula and she was actually the one who delivered my son. And I delivered her baby, and it was my first birth. So that has been a beautiful sisterhood moment. And
oh, wow.
yeah, so I actually like maybe 2 years ago switched more so to resonating with the term birth keeper over
Mm-hmm,
doula. I still
mm-hmm,
say that I'm a doula, but as you said, it is a different role. It's not the same role. And in most of spaces, especially home birth settings, I show up as a birth keeper, or
mm,
guardian of birth, the sacred space of birth. And so yeah, it's not the same as a midwife. And it's not the same as a doula, and it's not so they're birth professions, but they're not
mm-hmm,
the same role. And I say sometimes I've even had like a different role based on the birth that I'm at. So
mm,
if I'm at a birth with a midwife, I'm more so in the doula role. If I'm at a
mm-hmm,
just the mom and her family, I'm more so in the birth keeper role. And
mm,
um, I haven't gone down formally the midwife training pathway yet. I'm considering it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. As far as, licensure and, what
mm-hmm.
laws, and they're ever changing and depending on the state you're in and all that. So that's just something I'm trying to feel out. But yes, that is a
Yeah.
long-winded answer to titles and birth work.
But that's okay. That's okay, especially for those who may be new to the field or considering it. I think a lot of times, just like you said, you don't know that these are options, right? When you go to school, if you're when you're going to college or you're looking into a career, or not looking to go to college, but looking for a career, and you want to be in the medical field or you want to be in the health field or the wellness field, and you don't know all of the different avenues that you can take. And there's so many. But I just wanted to double back. What would you say is the main difference between a birth keeper and a doula?
To me, the difference between a birth keeper and a doula, you're more of an advocate and more of a supporter and more of an educator. In the birth keeping role, you're those things too, but you're really holding space for the reverence of birth and letting it naturally unfold in all of the spiritual and physical aspects that it unfolds in. So you're there to truly be a guardian of the process of birth. As a doula, that is something that you do as well. It's just more so in a, I guess, practical sense, so more in
Mm-hmm.
a like hands-on physical sense. And to me, birth keeping adds on the spiritual aspect of it and takes off anything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're literally just holding the space for birth, letting it unfold physically, how it unfolds. You're supporting with all things that you can support with, whether that's herbs, physical things like risobos or whatever, which are things that doulas do as well. But you're really just being a guardian of the process of birth when you're in that birth keeper role. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, for me, typically, I'm able to fully embody that when I'm in the home birth setting.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when I'm in the hospitals, I'm more so in the doula role because I'm kind of like, an advocate. I'm trying to like stand up for, what they want in the system that is, kind of telling them what they should have. So
Mm-hmm.
you're more so, a stronger advocate in that role. While in the home birth setting, you're really just able to let it flow, how you want it to flow, and you're
Mm-hmm.
supporting them how they want to be supported. And you just rolling with the punches. And they might, it might be all day. It might be, it might just be in and out. You might be checking in here and there. And so to me, that's what birth keeping is. It's allowing it to hold all of the space that it needs to hold.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to be like on guard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You do
Mm-hmm.
sometimes because sometimes you got like, family members or aunties or whoever that you got to be like, hold on a second. She's she's
Right.
having a contraction.
Right.
Sometimes you do have to like take on that, I hate to, I don't really want to use the word defensive, but kind of,
Mm-hmm.
protective.
Protective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
sometimes you do in the home birth setting, of course, but not so much as how you literally have to and need to in hospital settings where
Right.
you have to be strong and stand up for what, your patient, your sister, your client, whatever wants.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So within that birth keeper role, you spoke about really focusing on the spiritual aspects, bringing that into the space. And of course, families come with their own cultural and spiritual beliefs and rituals and in the background, just the richness of that. And they're able to pull on that for strength, right, and peace, and when they're going through transition, and when it gets tough, when you're questioning, did I make the right decision by being at home? Type of
Yes.
thing. So how do you pull in the cultural and spiritual beliefs, and how do they influence how you work with clients? Like, what are some of the things that you do? And I know it may vary,
Love that question.
right?
Yes, I love that question because I mean, of course, all of my life and this whole journey is a spiritual one with the physical, apparatus. But and specifically, I think I've been kind of diving deeper back into my roots of all of that recently. But to answer your question, like for me, my roots and what I grew up as and what's kind of predominantly even in this area is Southern Baptist.
Mm-hmm.
I integrate that with I want to say everything. Like, I don't think that there's a wrong answer when it comes to how you want to practice your spirituality. Like, whatever
Mm-hmm.
resonates with you is what, you go with. So I integrate that with a lot of things, but it really shows up in, prayer. It shows up
Mm-hmm.
in intention. It shows up in just support and connecting to the most high, the higher power, the universe, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, I
Mm-hmm.
integrate with a lot of different I guess belief systems. Um
Mm-hmm.
the way that really shows up is quite literally prayer in any sense of the meaning of the word. So whether that's actually like, saying a prayer right there with them, saying an
Mm-hmm.
affirmation, to me that's a form of prayer. If that's closing your eyes and uh focusing for a minute, which meditation, to me that's also a form of prayer.
Mm-hmm.
So those are like the different forms that it shows up in, and really just taking the time to connect to the most high, to the higher power, to the universe, and acknowledging that you're trusting them throughout the whole process,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like, throughout the whole process, and just being mindful and reminding them that this is a rites of passage. I actually just did a presentation on birth as a sacred rites of passage because throughout my care, throughout the whole time with them, and that's something else I emphasize, like it's not just day of birth preparation. Like this is stuff that I've made sure I've made clear throughout my whole journey with them. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
why I'm not the type of doula that can just show up at a birth, like a random birth, and just do
Mm-hmm.
like I need to like know you. I need to be with like we gotta like
Right. We
have
got a
some stuff
vibe together.
exactly established before I just show up in your birth space because
Right.
it's too much like the hospital to me. Like, oh, here's this random person. Like, hey, they're gonna look
Mm-hmm.
your baby, and so dang, I got off track for a second. But I was saying that because that basically all of those things play a role into how we show up on D-Day, on delivery
Mm-hmm.
day, when we're, remembering that this is a sacred rites of passage for us, a process with different phases and all of the above.
Mm-hmm. So when you're working with the family, just and I love that and I absolutely love, because I think community and relationship is extremely important. And just like you said with the example, many times when you go into a hospital space, and that is not to downplay, the people that are doing work within
Right.
the hospital settings, right? But I know even for myself, my both of my boys were born in the hospital. I had a pretty good practice, OB practice. However, you do not know who is going to show up on your day, right? So, which is why they have you seeing everybody in the practice just in case,
Mhm.
when D-Day comes, as you said, you'll know who, you will at least have met them. You may not have a rapport with them or a relationship with them, but at least you hopefully have seen their face at
Yes.
least one time before. So I know a lot of times, and that's kind of like the backup, having, providers having backups. And I know a lot of doulas as well have backups, but you
Mhm.
set such a high standard and really value the space of birth and it being sacred. You have been with families from the beginning until it's time for them to bring their babies earthside. How does that work for you? Do you just, how many families do you work with at a time? And do you have a backup birth keeper or a backup doula to
So
step
yes,
in?
transparently, that has been a challenge. In making this, sustainable, as
Mhm,
a line of work, that has been a challenge. When it comes to, home births specifically, or births that I show up in general. I do have a backup doula, and the way I usually incorporate that is similar to how they do, with prenatals, is throughout some point in the journey, you're meeting my backup person.
mhm,
If there's a case where I'm not able to make it, I've never actually had that happen yet, but that is because I do limit the amount of births that I take.
mhm,
The reason I said that makes it hard with sustainability is of course, like, I'm not going to charge, ridiculous amounts just to meet what I need to meet income wise. But at the same time, I'm not going to take on too many clients either,
mhm,
because I don't want to not be able to show up the way I need to show up.
mhm,
So transparently, that's been a struggle, a
mhm,
challenge, I'll say, for me, to figure out the balance between those and how to, show up how I want to show up. But I basically, I have at least, one backup who
mhm.
I'm able to like call on, in those cases, and they would have met that person. And of course, for me, the backup is not just, a random coworker that also got the job with
Right.
me. How it is, it's somebody who I vetted, who I align with, who I know will show up and represent how I
Mhm,
show up and represent. So that's really the difference to me, even though it's like the same model, how they do
mhm.
hospitals.
Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
again, like I said, not to slight hospitals like at
Right.
all. They have their
Mhm,
time and their place. I like hospital births. They're to me, I've said before that it's almost more important to have a doula in the hospital birth than it is to at a home birth,
yes. Yes.
because it's just the truth. Like, you
Yeah.
need an advocate in that system so you
Mhm,
can have the birth that you want to have. And they're really just operating on the laws and things that they have to operate on. Like, they're
mhm,
not being evil. They're not like, they don't have some type of evil agenda against you, It's just them operating in the system that they have to operate in, like by law,
mhm,
by their, training, by their education. So I like to always put that out there too, because people also like to assume that like doulas and home birth people are, against hospitals. And that is so not, or at least not in my case. That's not my case. Like, I
mhm,
think they have their time and their place, and I'm all about integrating it all together to make it work for you, the birthing
mhm.
person, or whoever it is.
Right.
So yeah, I just try to like pull it all together, integrate it practically to make it, to make it work.
Yeah. So just touching on what you said in regards to hospitals, of course, they have their time and their place in how they are serving families. As we know, especially within the BIPOC community, our numbers for maternal and infant mortality are sky high. right? They are, they're super
Garbage,
high.
actually, like.
Yes. And so I know, when working with clients, many who are considering hospital births or are stating like, hey, I'm gonna have a hospital birth for whatever the reason may be, right?
Mhm,
One of their biggest concerns is I want to be able to come home. Right.
mhm,
And that's what I have heard a lot working with clients is I want to be able to survive this birth. I want my baby to be able to survive this birth. And
mhm.
so, what are some of or when you're working with clients, especially those if you have had people express those feelings or even talk about the statistics in our community, how are you easing some of that fear and
Come
that they
through
have?
with the questions, okay? Period. No, seriously though, I one of the things that came to me kind of recently as I was teaching a childbirth education class is we are trying to thrive, not just survive. So when
Mhm.
somebody comes to me with that concern, honestly, that's probably the first thing I'll say. Like, I understand, like, of course, we're at the point, we're at the bottom right now. We're trying to
Mhm.
through. We're trying to just get by. We're trying to
Mhm.
just survive and not die. But where the place that I try to bring my clients to is like, okay, we're thriving. Like we're having exactly what we want. We are
Mhm.
allowing this to flow exactly the way it's intended to flow. So we're not only just getting by with, oh, that's similar to how they're like, well, at least you're alive and at least the baby's alive. And it's like, well, yeah, but I'm gotten traumatized. Like,
Right.
hello, like,
Yes.
yeah, I'm
Yes.
alive, and yes, the baby's alive, but my baby had to be in the NICU for a week over something that they're not even gonna admit to possibly being a problem.
Right.
So it's no, we ain't. That's not what we're on. We're not just in the space of trying to get by. We're trying to get free. That's actually one
Mhm.
of the songs that I like to play during, meditations that I do is we're not trying to just survive. We're not trying to just get by. We're trying to get free. So we're going
Mhm.
to bring this to the place of the birth beyond your wildest dreams. And like, the thing where it says shoot amongst the this to the moon, and even if you'll miss, you'll still land amongst the stars. Like,
Yes.
and if we don't have it being, planned X, Y, and Z, we do this and that.
Mhm.
Like, we're at least gonna end up in the best place we possibly can because that's how high we're aiming for. So I like to reframe that whole thing, like not from
Mhm.
a place of trauma, not from a place of just trying to survive. I like to reframe it as no, we're gonna have the birth that you deserve, that you yes, sir, thank you. That you are like truly empowering them to have the birth that they deserve. So
Right.
that's the space I like to show up from.
Yes, I love that. I was getting chills when you were speaking. Like you were like, It was like a big sister or a mom came through. We're not doing that. That's what we're not going to do. We're not
Well,
going
we're
to
not
do
doing
that.
that.
Let's get
We,
it
we spend too
together.
much of our lives just trying to get by. We trying to
Yes.
get free.
Yes. So I love it. Yes. This right here, this is what you call birth work. This is motherhood. This
Right.
is just real life. And this is what makes this time, our time together, so organic and so down to earth. It's not perfect, right? And it's okay because this is this is real life. And I love it. Um, so when you're also working with clients, once you get to that point with them and we are, you're working and there's that mindset shift, right? You see it finally clicks with them. We are not trying to survive. We are thriving. We are moving through. We're going through this rites of passage together. You are not by yourself. You are in community and we're going to love on you, right? Through this process. And so they get through the process, they get through the birth, And how are you still following up with them? Once the birth is done and everyone is safe and we're in the space, whether it's hospital, we understand that the postpartum time is extremely important too. And
Mhm.
so a lot of times we have a plan, or we see that people have plans, right? I mean, they got the baby shower planned out, they have, what the baby's gonna wear in the nursery and all of those good things, right? But sometimes the postpartum plan kind of falls through the cracks a little bit, right? And you don't really know what to expect until your baby truly gets here. How
Mhm.
are you helping them in that process to continue with the mindset that we are still thriving here, even though it looks different than the pregnancy and the birth process?
Yeah. So number one, definitely connecting them with resources and with, a tribe if they don't already have one. And then two, I would say just being more intentional about planning that time to make sure that, things are, excuse me, accounted for. And then number three, I would say is just being competent myself in the psychological changes that take place in the postpartum. So just being aware of, what's actually happening, what's
Mhm.
psychologically, physically, all of that, mentally, spiritually happening during that time. So me just being educated and aware of that allows me to show up how they literally need to have someone show up for them. Like it's not just a want, it's not just a luxury, like it's a
Mhm.
need, like this is what we need. So and then lastly I would say showing up in the space of remembering like what I needed or what I felt like I needed during that time.
Mhm.
So I'm a mother of two now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so just being, going through that experience myself, and experiencing that, let me know what, okay, I know how this is because I've been through it. Like
Mhm.
I actually know. So all those things together, I would say, I guess that's four points is what I usually try to hit on to make sure that they're fully supported. So like I said, um, my own experience, being
Mhm.
competent in what psychologically is taking place
Mhm.
during birth, connecting them with resources and planning. So those are the four areas I would say, which I just kind of made that up on the spot. So shout out to me.
Sure out. But all
But those
important.
are those are seriously like what I would say are the most important time because a lot of birth workers, not to shade or anything, because they show up how they need to show up. They're just
Mhm.
there for like the birth experience, like, oh,
Mhm.
I caught a baby, oh, I was here, I was there at the birth.
Mhm.
But to me, the pre and the after is what is the most important and what they need.
Mhm.
And I actually got that mindset from my midwife trainer who she she's the one who really gave me that mindset of like, hey, like it's not all about the birth. Actually, the birth is actually like not that, and not to say it's not that important because it is,
Mhm.
but like
Mhm.
that's where they need kind of like just the silent support of you just being
Mhm.
there and letting it unfold. But the
Mhm.
before and the after is where they need you presently, physically there doing the things.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. Especially with studies stating that it takes a woman's body 2 years now to come back to, I guess, regular, whatever
Like,
that means, right? Regular, right? But then I've also heard that once you have a child or once you have been pregnant, that you are always postpartum. Like you are just in postpartum forever. Like there is not that 6 week time period that, the hospitals give you, which usually is just checking your body, right? And then saying, okay, yeah, yeah, you're good to go, right?
yeah.
But it's not really touching on the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, because you do have so many times, and I know for myself, because I'm still within this 2 year time frame, right? Where it's, you know, it's still taking some time where I'm like, I'm starting to feel like I'm coming out, you know, coming out of the darkness, coming out to the light, where I'm starting to feel more like myself. But I know that I'm a different me than I was prior to
Mhm.
having him. And
Mhm.
so going through that process, the mental health aspect is so important, just mentally and psychologically, as you said. And so how are you supporting? I know you're providing them resources, but when your clients come to you and they're saying, you know, I know they say everything is fine, but I'm still trying to, you know, tap in, I'm still trying to find me again. What is some advice that you give your
Um,
clients during that time?
Well, I'm saying this advice and I'm really affirming myself because as you know, like my
Mm-hmm.
son here is only 4 months old, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
still very much in the thick of it trying to find my new self. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing that I always like to remind, mothers of and remind myself of is just to give yourself grace and allow it to unfold. And that's really the theme of life, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like you said, postpartum is literally forever because your DNA is literally changed for the rest of your like there's no going back. When you
Mm-hmm.
die, they can look at your skeleton and be like, "Oh, she had a baby." Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you're forever ever changed. And so just connecting with them, I mean, and this is another area where it's been a bit challenging for me to show up authentically, but show up sustainably is like, I literally become so close to most of my clients. It's just like, oh, I have another sister. And
Yes.
it's like, dang, can I have 1,000 sisters?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
can. So
Mm-hmm.
really just showing up, like their sister, like their, mother sometimes or
Mm-hmm.
auntie sometimes, which is new for me because I'm 26, so I'm used to
Mm-hmm.
being the youngest. But
Mm-hmm.
just recently I took on a client that I wasn't really going to take on because I didn't know if I was ready yet. And
Mm-hmm.
I think 18. And so for me, I'm gonna show up more like an auntie to her, and that's
Mm-hmm.
new for me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like I just graduated high school, nah,
Yeah.
but and that's new for me. So, but it is a passion for me as well because I had my first daughter when I was 14 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it's
Mm-hmm.
really a passion for me for teen moms or young moms, and showing up in that way, for them in the sisterhood and the auntie-hood and all of that. So yeah, I would say that's how I try to, I guess fill the gap, and
Mm-hmm.
reminding them to give themselves grace, to trust the process. I literally got it tattooed on my hand so I can
Yeah.
remember, even though I still forget, to trust the process of finding yourself again because
Mm-hmm.
you aren't the same you that you were and you never will be. And
Yeah.
some people have to mourn that. Some people have to
Mm-hmm.
that. Like I know for me personally, I had to grieve that because I was not planning or, I guess prepared to have my son in the time in the frame that I did. So
Mm-hmm.
like I had to go through the process of like, dang, this is like so not what I thought I was doing, but I guess
Right.
it is. So here we go.
Yeah.
So just remaining connected to the source during
Mm,
that time, connected to people that will connect you back to the source if you lose your
mm,
connection, and just trust in the process. It's so cliche, but it's so simple. Like you
yeah.
literally got to roll with it and reach out when you need to and
Mm-hmm.
close in when you need to too sometimes. Because for me, I'm very much of an outreach person, a connect,
Mm-hmm.
like love people person. But
Mm-hmm.
I realize there's times where I do need to isolate. I do need to
Mm-hmm.
like, contain my own energy and not give any,
Mm-hmm.
especially like in this season of postpartum. And that's actually hard for me because I'm
Mm.
just giving and going and giving and going. But it's like, girl, how you gonna do that when you gotta give it like slow down? Like
Right.
you have to, be intentional about what you're giving your energy to during this time. You can't just give it to everything like you normally do. So
Right.
that's the lesson for me that I'm still learning. But yeah, that's how I would encourage and remind my fellow womb holders.
Yes, yes, I love it. And that's so funny to hear you touch on a couple points. One, teen parenting, teen moms, teen birthing people. I absolutely love that population. I love working with teen moms. It's like one of my favorite populations to work with. And I remember not long after I graduated from with my bachelor's degree in social work and in doing work, my colleagues and I, we would sit around and we would, have conversations and talk, and we would talk about who we were working with. And I would always be like, oh yeah, I just love my teen moms and this. And they were like, that is a calling. Like that truly is a calling. And I think
Yeah,
it's because of the personalities and just, but they have
I get it.
so much
They love
going
preteen.
on.
So
Yeah.
I got a preteen right now, and whoo, but yeah.
Yeah. And I think they have so much going on, right? They're already going through so many things within their bodies themselves as they continue to grow, come into, their own. And I also feel like there's so much more going on in the world today. Just with social media, there's a lot that's on their plate, right? But they need this the most. Like they need the support and the love the most because they're still babies in so many ways that are, now having a baby. So they need those arms wrapped around them and they need that support more than ever. So I absolutely I love that. And I love that just how you incorporate working, with all of your clients in a way where it is truly an integrative approach. Nothing seems to be disconnected. Like one thing is connected with everything else, which I think is one of the key things when working in holistic wellness, right? And holistic health is understanding and knowing that the work we are doing is not separate from something else. It's a trickle down effect. And so everything has to come together. So we're not just focusing on the symptoms. We're not just focusing on one thing. We're getting to the root cause of what's happening and what's going on in order to make the experience the best experience possible, with our clients. And so I love that. And then, so let's talk about, just kind of, you talked about your passion. What else in birth work is your passion? Just being in this field, what makes you sing? What makes you just feel all tingly and good on the inside when you think about birth work?
Honestly, things like this where I get to share my knowledge, my story, my revelations, things like this is truly what makes me get excited about birth work. And just educating,
Mhm.
sharing knowledge. So I'm still in the process of being done with my actual teaching degree. I started getting my master's of arts in teaching just before I don't remember when, but so I do have a passion for teaching and sharing knowledge and connecting community as well. So things like this, and actually just this morning, I thank you so. Just this morning, I started working on my lecture series that I'm going to be intentional about sharing
Mhm.
information on. And so just a few topics of my areas of, I feel like expertise, areas of passion, areas of life taught me this, or I wish
Mhm.
I had this guy. And so
Mhm.
guide as I'm going through and just creating that for people that will need it. So sharing knowledge definitely and connecting community 100% is I like it makes me I love it so much. I have events where we're connecting community. I haven't had any recently obviously but I
They're coming. They're
yes,
coming back. They're
yes,
coming
they will
back.
be coming back. I don't know when, but soon. I have a few ideas floating around. So, just connecting and educating community
Mm-hmm.
about these things is, oh, I love it so much. Like, I love it second to actually doing the birth work for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's what
I
I would have to say.
I agree. I agree. It's just something about community and connecting with sincere and genuine people in this field and doing the work who are just as passionate about it as you are, and everybody brings something different to the table. And that in itself is a learning experience for, everybody involved. Um, so what is your vision for birth work? How do you plan to continue to leave your mark in birth work?
Yes, so my like I said, the thing that I'm most recently working on is child number one. Is just like you said, to leave a mark is just leaving physical things like
Mhm,
blueprints or guides or knowledge that people can have. So if I don't
mhm,
get it out of myself and I don't put it in something, a book, a
mhm,
lecture, or something,
mhm,
then
mhm.
it'll just die with me when I die. Like they say,
Right.
when an elder dies, it's like burning down a library. Like I don't
Mm.
want my library to be burnt down.
Right.
So, passing that along to whoever I can via, messages,
Mhm,
lectures, books, something
mhm,
like, oh, I talked to this girl this one time and she said this, and I just remembered
mhm,
that type of thing. That's how I want to leave my mark. Of course, I'd love it if, my daughter or any children that I have in the future will carry on
mhm.
the legacy. That would be beautiful. But I think one of the things that I remember as, important is just remembering that, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. But
Okay. It's mommy brain. I'm there with you, girl. Go ahead.
what was I saying? But yes, just remembering that, what I'm saying, has value and
Mhm,
that it will touch someone and it will touch who it needs to be touched. And realizing that, the it's going to become integrated so much as a normal part of my family and
mhm,
family that comes from me that
mhm,
it's just going to be normal. Like it's going to be normalized. It's not going to be like a, what? You had your baby at home? Oh my gosh. It's going to be
mhm,
like, yeah, like that's what
mm.
we do. Like,
Right.
what do you
Right.
mean? So that's where I'm trying to, leave my mark, leave it, just a part of the family, a part of the tradition.
Yes.
Just rekindling the traditions. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. And so, as we get ready to close out, I always have a question and to put you on the spot. And so, the question is looking back over your life and your experiences, what is one thing that you would tell your younger self?
Okay, I love this. One thing I would tell my younger self, I would definitely tell my younger self that honestly that you're enough just
Mm,
as you are. Like that's so cliche, you hear it all the time now. There's
mhm,
affirmations and everything about it, but I truly didn't believe that, and I thought
mm,
I needed all these things outside of myself. I thought I had to turn into this person over here or this person over there or be liked by this person to be here, instead of just like accepting who I was and realizing
mhm,
that who I was enough, and
mhm,
that the journey of life is going to take you where you need to go based on just being just you. Just
mhm,
that's it. You don't have to deserve
mhm.
it. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to, oh, you do this and that's why you get that. No, just exist. That is
Yes.
it. And because I feel like I've tried to, and still spend so
Mhm,
much life trying to be like, oh, well, I don't have this because I'm not this, or I need to
mhm,
be like this so I can have this, instead of
mhm,
realizing that the Most High don't care about none of that.
mhm,
The Most High is looking at you like, I made you perfect,
mhm,
literally perfect.
mhm,
That is it.
mhm, mhm,
So yes, that is what I would have told myself because I don't think I understood that. I still don't think I understand that sometimes because
mhm,
it's so based on like oh, I have to do this in order to get this, instead of
Mm-hmm.
realizing that you really don't. Like, of course, you have to, align yourself with things that you're supposed to align yourself with. But at the end of the day, just by being yourself, just
Yeah.
by being authentic, just by realizing that everything you have is already within you,
Yeah.
that would have taken me, who even knows? I'm
Yeah.
not, I don't even know, like, what level that would have, brought me to, or for me, because of
Mm-hmm.
the person I am, who I could have inspired by telling them that at that young age,
Mm-hmm.
like, what girlfriend or whatever that could I have had that I could have told that to if I would have known that, and
Mm-hmm.
we would have just been, we still are, and we still are, and there's a
Yeah.
reason, the whole process goes how it is, and I had to learn that how I learned it. But who knows, like, how it
Right.
could have been if I would have, you know, known that, or known
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah. It's three words, three simple words, but so powerful. And I think that's a reminder that so many of us need, especially Black women, that we are enough, because I, like you, still find myself, oh, I need to take this and I need to go and do this. And do I look like this? And, how am I supposed to show up in this space? And that daily reminder, even sometimes second to second reminder, you are enough and you've always been enough. And to just be is so powerful. It's so powerful. And I think it's even, more needed, especially in birth, especially in the
Yeah.
postpartum days, is that reminder, you are enough. You are doing enough. You show up enough. You are beautiful enough. You are strong enough. Just you as a person, your light, your spirit is enough. And so I am so grateful for our time together. Thank you so much, Hope, for coming and sharing space with me today and blessing us with your presence. And we got to see the baby, which I'm always loving to see babies. And this is what I love about this, connecting. We're a little bit of the opposite, although people don't believe that about me sometimes. I'm more of an introvert, right? Which is funny when people are like, really, are you?
Mhm.
And I had on a shirt yesterday that said, I'm not antisocial, I'm pro solitude.
Mhm.
But I love moments like this. I love the organic, just the sacredness, the down to earth sister friend. Let's talk, let's just share information, let's tell stories, let's laugh, let's cry, and let's
Mhm.
just be, right? Because in a world where things are moving so fast and everything is crazy at times, right? These are so special and valuable moments. And so I just appreciate you. And before we close out, how do people get in contact with you? How do people get to, work with you, get you to speak, or, just to be in your space, girl? How do people get in contact with Hope?
So, I have a website, and I would prefer that method because I have to pay for the, no, I'm just kidding. But yes, my website is backtorootsholistics.com,
Yes.
and my socials are backtoroots.birthkeeping, and back to roots dot holistics on Instagram and Facebook. And then my website there. I'm pretty responsive if I'm not, mommying or doing all the million things that I
Yes.
do, but I am pretty responsive on there, and I love to connect. I love, like T said, moments like this where we can just, you know,
That. Just
share
vibe.
space, like,
Yes.
have a moment.
Yes.
So yes, that is where you can find me. Back to
Absolutely. Thank you, Hope, so much for being here with us today. I greatly appreciate it. You definitely have to come back, so we can have more chats and laughs and just be in this space. And so until the next time, we will see you soon.